only 2.5% is about Africa.
Wow.
And he's saying that Africa is the second most largest continent in the world. But yet, our information is just less than 2.5%. Even, would you believe that information about Antarctica, which is uninhabited, is more than Africa, which has human beings on it?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Let's Talk Education Africa podcasts. I am exceptionally thrilled to have you on a brand new episode, and I have the immense pleasure of hosting a true luminary in the field of education, research, and development. She is in the person of Ruby Damenshie-Brown. Her Zoom name says Ruby D. Brown. And she's the project manager of Open Foundation West Africa. And we are going to unpack a bit of her life and mainly about what her organization does. I'm truly excited to have her here day in, day out. Our team is just finding out more about different organizations in the space who are, contributing their quota to have a positive impact on the overall education of people here in Ghana, my motherland, of course, and then if you stretch it across the continent. And I'm happy. I'm really excited to, talk to Ruby about her organization, which is the Open Foundation West Africa. Ruby, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kwame, for having me. I'm excited to be here. And it's truly a great pleasure.
Awesome. Okay, Ruby, let's get right into it. I'm sure my listeners too would like to know more about who Ruby is. So give us a little background of Ruby Damenshie-Brown.
Okay, I'll say that Ruby is a very outgoing person. I love research. I love developmental projects. Yeah, I'm a fun person to be with. I love people. I'm people-centered. I love to work with people, collaborate, think through ideas, and come up with solutions. So more of solution-oriented. Okay. And I'm based in Ghana, Accra. That's where I was given birth to. And I've lived in Accra most of my life, growing up and working. Yeah. So basically, this is Ruby.
Awesome. Okay, so this is a question I like to ask all my guests. I want you to go back in time and go back to a particular context in your childhood that has, in your opinion, influenced the sort of work that you're doing in education and research now.
Okay, so growing up, it's been a very wonderful experience. I grew up with my dad most of the time, and my mom wasn't so much around, but then at a point she was also around. But then growing up, one thing that I noticed that really drove me was the background that I came up from. We don't see a lot of women like climbing the educational ladder. Most of the time they are due for marriage at a very early age, and so you don't find like a lot of women pursuing higher education and all of that. And for me as a woman, I felt like my dad really inspired us, because we're two girls, inspired us to take education very seriously. And he really saw what we were not seeing at the time, because when you're a kid and your parents are like study hard and all of that, you're like you want to do what you want, but then they seem to see something that you're not seeing at the time. But now I see what he was seeing at the time, what we didn't see, because we could have become like any other person that didn't take education seriously, and we don't know where we would have been by now. But that really inspired me, and there are lots of people that also I looked up to that also sort of like inspired me to take this seriously. So I saw that education is the future, because when your mind is educated, you're educated, it helps you to think differently. It opens up opportunities for you. And some people might say that, oh, education is not so important, and people are millionaires who didn't go to school and all that. You will ask yourself, how many people are there like that who didn't go to school that are millionaires? Okay, so the fact that we have 1 or 2 millionaires who didn't go to school at all doesn't defeat the fact that education is very important, because if you are educated, whatever that you do, or if you attain, like, you continue to educate your mind, you continue to like develop yourself, you'd see that the way that you even if it's pure water that you're selling, you will think around it differently. Okay, there are a lot of things that should help you to improve that skill. Okay, that you're doing. So education is very important, and we need to, open up this opportunity to a lot of people, especially in deprived communities and all of that. And for me, having to do an internship in Ghana Statistical Service, where I had the opportunity to visit various communities and seeing the deplorable state of educational conditions in these communities, it's very heartbreaking to know that, when you're in Accra, you think everywhere is the same, but it's not. Okay, right after school, I started an internship with the Ghana Statistical Service as a data at the data processing unit, and through that process, we had the opportunity to analyze data. We also had the opportunity to be on the field for some of the projects, traveling to different regions. And for me, one thing that was particular for me was to see the educational condition in these regions, and they were in a very terrible state, very, very terrible state. And so I asked myself, what does this future hold for these children? It's like there's a lot that needs to be done. For these actually inspired me a lot, in especially now that I'm doing programs as a programs officer at Open Foundation West Africa, thinking through how we can even impact people or students who are in very deprived communities and all of that. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that during the conversation. But yeah, this is just some of the things that inspired me to agenda.
Right. I absolutely agree with you that good education, which in my opinion encompasses both formal and non-formal education, is a real catalyst for any transformation that we are seeking to see in our country and then the continent at large. The guest I spoke to, and I think he mentioned that education is a leveler, right? It just brings you to a point where you can start thinking about yourself and the impact that you can make in your particular context, and then in a much broader context, that is society, in a better light. And so I 100% agree with you that education in all its forms should be spread across. It should be, and it's the reason we have our constitution having special focus on ensuring that the governments or the governments, each of the governments that's come in and out, do not fail to ensure that education is provided to each and every citizen. So yes, you are really spot on that. Awesome. So back to what I actually want us to unpack today. So you are the programs manager at the Open Foundation West Africa. First off, what is Open Foundation West Africa?
Okay, so in more simpler terms, I'll say Open Foundation West Africa, first of all, is a non-profit organization, and we are into soft skill capacity building for the youth, basically. So we empower the youth with skills that can enable them to not just amplify their voices, contribute their knowledge, but also leverage on these open educational resources for their benefit, because there are lots of open educational resources that are available that you don't have to stress yourself. You can use them for free. But the question is, how many people know about these educational resources that we are talking about.
Yeah.
How many people are using it to their benefit? Okay. So what we do is that we train people about it, we create awareness, we show them what it is, we build their digital skills on how to use these to their advantage. Okay. And then also we also work with educational institutions, secondary schools, tertiary institutions, develop programs that impact the work that they're already doing in their schools. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I mainly see there's a focus on, if you like, technology. Is that the only thing that you focus on?
Yeah, so more of technology, soft skills. Yeah, basically how we're going to leverage the various technological tools that are available. We build their skills. So basically, and also we are also into advocacy. Okay. For instance, Creative Commons licenses. There are a lot of creative arts industry people in the creative art industry in Ghana who do not know about copyleft. Okay, we have copyright. They don't even know what copyright is. Okay, as we are content creators, and you know the world has transformed so much that now we have a lot of content creators, but do they understand the license behind it? How can they leverage on open license to promote their work? Okay, to increase visibility of their work. Well, how does that benefit them? Creating those kind of awareness is also very important for us. So we work with organizations like Creative Commons. We are an affiliate of Creative Commons to do all of these work, just like we are an affiliate of Wikimedia. So Wikipedia is also one of the things that we do. Wikimedia has several projects, and for me, like somebody like me, before I joined the Wikimedia community, I didn't even know that Wikipedia had other sister projects. So many of them, I only knew about Wikipedia, but most of these sister projects have been in existence so many years, you know, and they are useful resources that we can use for educational purposes and also use to amplify our knowledge, our culture, our history, our story, who we are as a people. They have a way of benefiting the continent as a whole and even the country that we live in. Okay, they have its own benefit, but then people do not know about it. So we try to create awareness about all of these things. Then we get the opportunity. We also build capacity by organizing training programs, stuff like that. Yeah, basically.
Interesting. It sounds very loaded when I hear it.
Very.
But one thing that's standing out to me is the point about access, right? Making people aware, and making them aware, one, of the open resource. And then number two is the fact that they can access it, right? Because I mean, day in, day out, especially when I do interview the guests who are coming up with, if you like, edtech tools and all of these other technological tools, etc. There's that big conversation about people not knowing. There's the lack of awareness, and as a result of that, well, you still have people, quote unquote, in the dark, when there are so many, resources and tools and what's not available that they can leverage on to sort of, to an extent, improve access to education and all of that. Okay, so, I mean, checking out your website, I saw that you've run a few campaigns. But before we go into that, right, I want to hear more about the Wikipedia collaboration. Could you expand on that a bit? Okay,
so Wikipedia is, let me say in short, it's more like an online encyclopedia, okay? Mm-hmm. And so it gives everyone, because the whole idea of Wikipedia is to make the sum of all human knowledge available to the world for free. Okay, what it means is that we all can share our knowledge on Wikipedia, and we all benefit from it. So someone in, let's say, in Liberia can learn about Ghana by the things that we share on that platform. And another person can learn about, and we can also learn about Liberia by the information that they share on that platform. So if we all put our knowledge there, it's a win-win. I can learn more about different countries and all, and other countries can also learn about us for free without paying. And sometimes this looks like insignificant. It's like, oh, like, but imagine I was looking for if my cousin was going to secondary school, and I wanted to look at information about the secondary schools that we have in Ghana. How are they like? What are their dormitories like? Like how many? What's their student population? Like I need detailed information. How does even the school look like today? It would surprise you. It's so hard to find like up-to-date information about these schools unless you go to the school. And what that means is that I would have to travel to Eastern region to check the school, Volta region to check the school, like all the regions that I'm trying to shortlist for the school to understand what is on the ground. I don't need to do that in this 21st century because I don't have the time. Time is so precious. You might not always have the time to be traveling around. It was going to even cost you so much money. Okay, so what we are saying is that if these people document this kind of knowledge online, it will be very easy for someone to sit at the comfort of their home to access that knowledge. It will be very easy for people to do research about Kintampo without going to Kintampo. If the community in Kintampo are empowered to document their stories on Wikipedia, for instance, document their history, their people, how the place look like, share pictures that are free, everybody can learn about Kintampo, the opportunities that are in Kintampo, how the place look like, what are the things that they are battling with, what are the resources that they have, like a whole lot of things. And even the people, or let's say notable people who have invented technologies, where are they coming from? Let's say they are coming from these regions, we can read about them. Some people think about Africa as a bush, like nothing happens, nothing good happens here. But then if we are able to document like these people that are doing amazing work in Africa, the outside world can learn about Africa through these documentations. Okay, and someone, there was a journalist who told me that he had a lot of opportunities. He had like a big time international opportunity, a big time opportunity, just because he was on Wikipedia. This is how visible you become to the global world. And I would say that Wikipedia is among one of the top 5, or let's say maximum top 10 websites in the world. And it's highly indexed. Wherever that you are in the world, you can Wikipedia shows up. Okay. If you are in Ghana, there are some websites that you don't see in Ghana. Okay. If you are in, let's say, China, there are some websites from Ghana you will not see in China. But Wikipedia supersedes all. It's that kind of website that gives you that global visibility across the world. And so it's very important. Those who know the value of it, they know what it means to be on Wikipedia and they want to be there. Okay, but then the Wikipedia is also not a diary where we are documenting all our people on it. Okay, we need to document notable people that other people will love to read about them, search about them. Okay, so it's more like you need to have like that notability to be on Wikipedia. But then it's a very good platform if you want to really, really like increase visibility of that kind of thing that you want to put there. Okay, it's a very powerful platform. So what Open Foundation does is that we are an affiliate of Wikimedia. Okay, so Wikimedia is a global community, and we work together collaboratively. It's made up of affiliates, organizations, institutions, individual contributors, and all of that. So we work together collaboratively to push this agenda, empowering the youth, empowering people to document their stories on Wikipedia, showing them how to build in their capacity, showing them the importance, the value of it, also showing them how they can even use the content that are on that platform for their benefit. Or imagine if you are doing a presentation, okay, and you want free photos to use. The fact that we all using anybody's photo and nobody's seeing that doesn't mean it's right. Okay.
Right.
If you take a of me, you own that picture because it's your creative work. Automatically, that picture is curated. Okay. Until you give me the right to use this, I cannot use it. But nobody's suing us because maybe I don't have $1 million. Imagine if I had $1 million, people would be after me because now I want to be more careful because the least thing you do, somebody will sue you for money. Okay. But then if we are able to contribute those pictures on Wikimedia projects like Wikimedia Commons for free, somebody else will be able to use it for free because they are under open license. Okay, without having to look for you. Hello, where is the owner of the picture? Like maybe you are in Asia somewhere, I don't even know your number. I have to look for you before I can ask permission. But then when you donate those pictures, other people who are doing a research about, let's say, Antarctica, maybe I'm doing a research about Antarctica for my assignment. I need pictures to add to my presentations and all of that. So I need free pictures, not pictures that are copyrighted. So Wikimedia Commons provide that platform where we can access free photos that nobody would come and sue you for for copyright issues or sort of like be in that trouble. Okay. And so people go there to find pictures, like let's say, how does depot, how do we even demonstrate, how even a festival in Africa, people don't understand how we celebrate our festival because every country celebrates their festival differently. So a festival in Ghana might not be the same. People want to learn about how it looks like. So in your presentation, you get those kind of free pictures, you add to it. It adds impact to what you're already even researching about. It adds more value. People appreciate it more when they are pictures. Okay, so Wikipedia project has sister project that does different things. Okay, so Wikipedia is just one of it. Wikimedia Commons is the audiovisual repository of all the Wikimedia projects. So any picture that you see on Wikipedia, it's coming from Wikimedia Commons and they are free. Anybody can use it free of charge. Maybe what you need to do is maybe attribute the author and you'll see all the details there. Okay. Sometimes the person who shares it will say, if you like, use it without attributing me, and that's fine. Okay. So these are very useful. And then there's also that other sister project for Wikidata, providing that machine readable data. Okay. Because Wikipedia is not structured. It's in a format that you cannot develop an app on it. You cannot develop that AI cannot read it. But then the Wikidata is the machine readable version of, let's say, Wikipedia in simple terms. Okay, so we can build apps on it. We can even plug in on ChatGPT. Like people can develop things on it, and then lots of people use that data. Okay, for a whole lot of things. And one of the recent projects that we did was the Wikidata for Education project, where we modeled the Ghanaian curriculum on that Wikidata. This is an example. So we piloted some few subjects on it to test it, and then possibly somebody can also develop an app on it to test it how it works and functions. Okay, so it makes this information very, very accessible in various ways. Yeah, basically, it's a whole lot of things. The ecosystem is so huge. The ecosystem is so huge. About 17 projects. Yeah, it has about 17 projects, all performing different. Wiktionary is the dictionary version. It's like a wiki dictionary. And somebody actually these days we need dictionary for the dictionaries like everywhere online. But let me tell you something. Most of the time you have access to an English dictionary easily online. But how about our indigenous languages? The languages that are fading so quickly that even our generation that are coming might not even understand the meaning of the words that are being spoken, and the other generation too is going. Okay, so what we do with Wiktionary is that we document words in indigenous language, translated, okay, and provide the meaning. How is, let's say, a table mentioned in tree? We document it and explain it, just like the way a dictionary functions. This is more like in a local language. And you would agree with me that even we have so many languages in Ghana, so many that I've even lost track. Okay, but how many of these languages have dictionaries? What that means is that if the generation, how are we preserving our local language? Dictionary is a good place to do that documentation so that doesn't get lost. It's more like a permanent place to do that. It's going to be there for generations to generation. Wikipedia has been there for more than 20 years.
Interesting. Really interesting. Wow. I think one of the good things I really enjoy about this podcast is the fact that I always get to learn something new. Hello, Ruby. Can you hear me?
I think so. Yeah.
Good. Awesome. I was just saying very quickly that one of the beautiful things I really do enjoy about this podcast is the fact that every day I learn something new. I genuinely do appreciate the way and manner you unpacked, the whole infamous, if you like, Wikipedia in a way that I'd never thought about. And clearly there's the overarching focus on access to information, right? And I can see how it runs through. So you mentioned Wikicoms, and then you mentioned Wiktionary, and I'm beginning to appreciate and understand why all of these, if you like, branches are set up and what they are intended to achieve. And wow, it's trust is really interesting, and I hope my listeners are picking up a thing or two. You definitely learn something new with each episode. Yeah. Good. I wow, I have learned something today. I quickly wanted to touch on, before we get on to the campaigns that you have. So in terms of, if you like, bridging the gap when it comes to technology and then capacity building in terms of soft skill training and all of that, could you unpack those for me? So in terms of technology, what sort of information are you sharing with the less privileged with what you do with your family and with the organization? And then when it comes to the soft skills program, what are the things that you are offering?
Okay. Yes. So let me talk about technology and assets and what we are doing. We are doing a whole lot of projects, but one that I would highlight. Okay, I talk about the Wikipedia for Education projects that kind of try to make accessible the curriculum for students, and this was inspired by the pandemic. And it's a collaboration also between us and the Wikimedia Foundation. Okay. So as students began to study from home, we're like, okay, we don't know when another pandemic, we don't know when we're going to get over it. But then virtual learning has become part of us. Some way, somehow, for some reason, some years before the pandemic, people didn't like virtual. If you say attend meeting virtual, people didn't like, it's not the thing. It was sounding very strange. Okay, people want to come in person than to meet virtually. But COVID has taught us that it's possible to be anywhere and still benefit and learn. Okay, so we've seen that even now that COVID has reduced or sort of like not really around, we're still seeing the hybrid kind of learning. Okay, there are still lectures that we attend online. Okay, so if there are still lectures that we can attend online, students can still be learning from their home. Then we should be able to make educational content that are aligned to their curriculum available to them on in their homes. Okay, so that inspired the Wikidata for Education project. Another project that I would highlight, which is also one of our signature projects, is the Keywords for Schools. What that does, it enables students to access complementary form of educational resources offline. And why offline? Like, in the world where we are all online, offline, because you would agree with me that how many secondary schools have the luxury to have internet 24 hours, like students to like browse anything, go to the web, because now education is not just about passing exams. Education goes beyond your exam, but what your teachers care about is to pass your exams, right? But then once you're in school, you should be able to do extensive research beyond what your teachers are even offering you. The books in our shelves, how many of them have been updated? Have they been changed? You'll be amazed. You go to a secondary school and you still see that book that you used 20 years ago still in the bookshelf. It's good, but then, knowledge keep evolving to take. When we were young, I don't see them now being given to kids. They've evolved. New innovations have come. So the world is evolving quickly. A lot of things are changing. We are researching more and finding more answers than we used to have, because those days we didn't have those technology to discover that knowledge to that extent. Okay, so it is that knowledge that informed those recommendations or those kind of drugs that were coming out, or those kind of decisions that we're making. Now we've seen that the world have changed. There's so much technology. AI is helping us. Even like there's so much that you can even find out with the use of AI and all of that. So a lot of things is changing in our world, and that's how quickly we need to sort of like try to adapt and also align, okay, to help us to be innovative. And we've seen that for a lot of the private communities, and especially when you come to Africa and the global south, we are not so much privileged like that. Like you go to the Western world, internet is not something that you have to cry out for. But when you come here, even recently, we've heard that MTN has revised their data bundle. People are screaming online. People who are even in a working class are crying. Data is very, very expensive. And we are saying that access to information is a human right. But then there are barriers. Internet cost is one of the barriers. Aside the low internet penetration rate in Africa, we still have challenges with poor connectivity. We still have challenges with high internet bundles. You go to secondary schools, they can't afford to allow students to be browsing, to be doing research online. So how do we support these kind of students to access knowledge? Most of the time, in rural areas, remote areas, nobody's thinking about them. So what we have done with Kiwix for School project is to sort of like find useful resources, educational resources that are open also, and sort of like make them accessible offline. So you can browse it. So for instance, TED videos are very educational, inspiring. They can even inspire your mind, okay, when you listen to them. These are the kind of things that we want students to also have access to sort of like inspire them. Not just like passing exams, but the other educational things, to be able to do research outside your school. So these TED videos, let's say, are zoomed on Kiwix. Kiwix is just a software. So if you hear the word Kiwix is a software, and there's also an organization. The organization that is responsible for Kiwix is also called Kiwix. So what we do is that we've collaborated with Kiwix, and so we are more like a affiliate or something like that with Kiwix. Okay, where we are taking educational content to schools, okay, in that format. So there can be a whole website where we can convert it offline. So when these students go to that website where they can browse, let's say this course, this subject here, this subject, they'll be browsing all right, but then you don't need internet. So everything works perfectly like you're on the internet, but then you don't need internet. They don't have to buy data. So that's how we make it. So we look at content that suits a particular school, what kind of because every school is different. And these are some of the learnings that we implemented a project. Because when we started implementing a project, we did one size fits, It was one school that, but this content, some of the contents were not aligning to them, to what actually they need. So what we do is that we try to understand what content will be also useful for students, and then we try to make those accessible, because there are so many contents, okay, very rich quality educational materials that you will not even find in your school shelf, okay. So we try to convert all of these and make them available to the student.
All right. So you were unpacking. The last bit was about projects like the Kiwi. The Kiwi Wix project, and how you were in a sense, the organization was attempting to find means and ways to ensure that the stumbling blocks that were making things difficult in terms of accessibility of information to especially students in deprived areas. So you mentioned things like finding ways of getting good quality education to be put on platforms and to be able to be accessed offline. You can continue. You can continue on that path.
Yeah. So I was thinking about how we implement the KWEX project. So what we do is that we try to tailor the content to suit the need of the school. It can be overwhelming, and if there are so many, and then you don't know which one to choose and what to do. Okay, for instance, you're in a school that is not more into a certain kind of subject, they might not really be interested in. So we work with the school, we talk to the school, we try to understand what their interest areas are and try to tailor the content to suit their needs. Okay, so when we get to the school, we implement the projects. How do we do that? So first of all, we try to understand the need. We try to do a little needs assessment with the school to understand their need, because for schools they have internet, they don't seem to need it. Okay, so these are some of the conversations that we have with the headmaster or head teachers, computer lab teachers, and all of that, and see if there's a need for it. Because what basically we are trying to do is to offer the same content that are offline. Students are comfortable, they can afford and make this available whilst we have internet. Then they might not necessarily be interested in that. Okay, so that's the first thing. And what we've noticed basically is most of community or schools in very deprived areas value this a lot. They value this a lot because they don't have the luxury accessibility in terms of data. Even you have been to a school, teachers are not even having internet themselves. They cannot afford basic internet bundle to do their own research. And so these materials are also proven to be useful for teachers, educators who are in the school, to sort of like go deep into the content, to explore it and do their personal research for themselves, for their self-development. Because most of these people in the deprived areas don't have access to all of that. I remember there was a project that we're doing with Ghana Statistical Service, and the whole village that we visited, you couldn't even make a call. Like, we couldn't just call our families to tell them we have arrived safely. They showed us a pole which was about some meters, 10 meters away. You need to go to that pole before you could make a call. Okay, and sometimes the higher you have to climb a little bit. It's like a tree or it's a pole or whatever. It has something around you. Some people tend to climb a little bit up to sort of like connect to the network or something like that before they could make a call. So you see people coming there just to make a call and go back home. So once they are in their homes, they can't even make a simple call, not to even talk about internet. So imagine a teacher in that community. How is that teacher self-developing himself? How is the students developing themselves? And so we work more with those communities to do the implementation. And when they get to the school, they install it on their computer labs, because not many of these students have luxury to have their personal computers for us to install it. So the computers in the computer lab is what we do the magic. And we are also seeing a whole lot of challenges whilst implemented. We have learned a lot of lessons. We think that there's a lot that needs to be done in our education system. An example is talking about the computer to student ratio. We see so many students in the school, but very few computers. And for the past year, when we did an average of computer to student ratio, statistics that we gathered during this project, we see that it's such a huge gap. We have about 145,000 students, class, versus 395 devices. This is for a total of, I think, a total of 22 schools. When we gather like the average, this is how it looks like. This is a huge gap. So when the question says that we don't have so many working computers in each of the schools that we go to. So this is also an opportunity where we're looking to explore how do we collaborate with institutions, organizations to donate computers to the schools. And one of the organizations that we also found, Labdo, where we just recently received some computers to sort of like support some underserved communities and schools with computers. Okay, we got some few laptops. This is our first partnership that we are exploring, and I think we need more of such kind of collaborations to help a lot of schools, because it's very sad to see that even basic computers by the schools themselves. And you would want to ask me what kind of school, what level of schools do we work? Basically, we work with secondary schools. Tertiary schools are also very useful, but we are looking at what strategy will be most useful, because they usually have internet and all of that. So we need to find a more useful strategy to deal with them. But we have worked basically with secondary schools. Why secondary schools? Because secondary school, at least they tend to have like a computer lab that is having some functional computers. Most of the primary schools, especially in these deprived areas that need it, don't have computer laboratories. So it's even difficult to implement such a project when you don't have devices, because how do you access? So even though access to information is a human right, we are screaming all out loud, it's not so accessible like that, because we need devices to access. We need data to access. We need so many things to be able to access. So if it's a human right, well, it shouldn't end by the statement. It should, there's a lot that, you need to deal with to be able to make that human right more functional, so that it's not just in words. Yeah. So these are some of we've experienced a lot of interesting challenges implementing this project. We've learned so many lessons. We are still exploring different ways and strategies to explore to make it more impactful. And we also get the support of the Wikimedia Foundation to support us with like technical assistance, to explore collaborations with British Council, see how we can collaborate to make this project more impactful, more accessible to more people, develop more robust implementation strategies that would increase the impact of the project that we're already doing. And one interesting thing that happened, like we sort of like scaled up this year, because we've been doing this in Ghana, but other communities learning more about our Curious project, they found it interesting. Why did they find it interesting? Because they are experiencing similar challenges in their part of the Africa that they are. Okay, because it's like we tend to share that common challenge in terms of high internet costs, high, low connectivity, and all of those, especially communities in the global south. So this year, what we did was to scale up the project in terms of capacity building, not implementation. Capacity building, because we need more volunteers to know what it is, how to convert these, materials into Zinfile, how it is done, how do we do it, blah, blah, blah. So we launched for the first time our Curious for School Africa Mentorship Program this year. We recruited and trained 100 volunteers across more than 20 African countries. And that was a huge in terms of like sharing knowledge, making people acquire this kind of skill that will be useful. It can be useful for them personally, and also they can take it to their communities or develop projects or work with partners, or if they have NGOs, they can also look at how they can create an impact with that skill. So it's a very rich skill to have, understanding what it is, how to even develop your program around it, and sort of like, learning from some of the lessons that we have experienced so that we don't repeat the same thing. That's why history is important. So in as much as we are moving forward learning about how people have done it in the past can also help you to shape properly in a way that makes it more impactful for your context. So it's been a very interesting project that we've been doing, and yeah, you can learn more about it online. You can just search for Kiwix for School. There are publications that we've drafted, information that are available for you to learn more about the project. Yeah.
Wow, I was listening to you go, and I'm just realizing how it's such a Herculean task. The whole idea of making education accessible to every child, and by extension everybody else. And I'm looking at just listening to, if you like, the developmental challenges, the logistical challenges, and I am genuinely thankful, for the active participation of all of these developmental partners, and like yours, like these NGOs and so on and so forth, that are actively playing a role, a very essential complementary role to what the governments, the different governments are doing to to help reach that agenda of ensuring that there's overall access to education and then information. Because wow, I'm listening to you, and it's a lot. I can see how it's a lot. Yeah. And I mean, you're not the only person sharing the real frustrations or the real issues that happen on the ground. I had a conversation with an individual from the Africa Education Watch, and I'm sure you know them. Africa Education Watch, you know them. Yeah, they're quite a very vibrant, a very vibrant advocacy group. When you speak to NGOs like yourself, advocacy groups like the Africa Education Watch, etc., you get to really know and appreciate what is happening on the ground. The real obstacles, the real stumbling blocks. That is making it difficult. There's no other way to put it. That is making it really difficult for the overall dream and the overall goal that we are trying to achieve. But that said, it's really exciting. It's really heartwarming to know that we have organizations like yours, we have individuals like you who are, pushing regardless of the difficulties that you face, and you're making some good impact, as you move along. And really, well and truly, it really is heartwarming to hear how you are able to sometimes surmount. I see how you are actively collaborating with other NGOs, other agencies, including governments, right? To make things happen on the ground. It really is heartwarming, to be honest. So thank you so much for sharing. So I've heard about the wiki, the wiki projects. Yes, that project. Yes, and so on. The Kiwix for schools. Yes, the Kiwix for schools project. Awesome. Could you highlight? Could you list the other projects? Because I see a lot of different projects or campaigns, as you call them. Could you just highlight them? So I know you've mentioned the Kiwix for Schools project. What other project? And I know about the collaboration with Wikipedia. What other campaigns have you worked on, or are you working on?
So other campaigns that we worked on is let's say the Tag Go Digital. The Tag Go Digital project is more like a project that teacher training. So teacher is a partnership between the Teacher Training Association of Ghana, Kofi Annan, some other government bodies who are also on board. The whole idea, I think EFFECT was also on board to supporting in a little way that they can. So the whole idea is that we want to bring digital skills. Teachers, when we were in school, our teachers told us not to use Wikipedia, okay? Just like we are seeing them battling with ChatGPT now. When ChatGPT came, it was like a threat for teachers, because it was like, Chat is going to write everything for them. So like, what? But then we also saw that, we've seen that with Wikipedia. Teachers are like, don't use Wikipedia. Most of the times because they don't know how to go about it or even how to show students to use it. Okay. So we believe that helping teachers to understand what Wikipedia is, trying to clear out those kind of myths or misconceptions that have been passed on from generation to generation without any justification for those kind of myths. They've just been carried on. It's like you heard it here, and generations keep passing it on. Like, don't use Wikipedia, but they don't know why they are telling students not to use Wikipedia. Do they even know what Wikipedia is? Do they know the benefit of it? Do they know how students can use it for their benefit? No. So showing them how to do it, building their digital skills is very important, and it has a lot of impact in the long run. And there are so many enormous opportunities. Let me use an example of one collaboration that we're exploring. For instance, we want to implement Wikimedia and Education program in Ejumako language school. Why would we think about that? There's a course that they do in Ejumako called translation. Because it's a language school, they do learn Tree, Hausa, those kind of local languages, and they have assignments where they are supposed to translate an English article into an indigenous article, into a local language. Okay. All these translation assignments are done on paper. And guess what? These papers will be piled up till the headmaster or lecturer feels like their room is too full to contain it. And then what happens to this piles of knowledge, corrections that have been made, knowledge that have been documented? This is rich content that can be made available for generations to come and have, but they will be banned. And that is what has been happening for years, up to today.
Okay. Joking. Really?
Yes. They will not be useful for anybody. No, who is looking for, even now, people are now searching things online. So this information, once they are offline and they are in a paper format, they're not useful for a lot of people. Okay. So imagine these translations are done on Wikipedia. The 3 Wikipedias are translating on that article in 3 Wikipedia. Imagine the number of articles that we will have in 3. A time should come where we should do research in 3, not always translating. We should just research for this and find all in 3, and we should be happy. Okay, but all this knowledge this has been happening from generation to generation. So what we are saying that we want to collaborate with you and incorporate Wikipedia in your lessons, where this assignment will be done on Wikipedia instead of they trying to type it. They are typing it all right. So why don't they type it on Wikipedia and it will be preserved? Generations will come and have access to that knowledge. Okay, so this is how one of the ways that we can start trying to change the mindset with the new teacher training who are coming, because sometimes those who are already there, they don't like a lot of digital stuff. They feel like it's a lot of work than the simple one that will mark, on paper and all. But the good thing about the digital one is that even once you put that content on it, somebody else can review it and improve it. And people keep reviewing it and become so better to serve the world. Okay, so the tag goes digital. We're trying to build the capacity of these teacher trainings, the upcoming teachers, your parents, teachers, parents who are going to be teachers in future about Wikipedia, so that they don't also go and pass on some kind of misconception that they didn't know about Wikipedia, stop using Wikipedia, and all of that kind of repulsiveness that they had towards Wikipedia. It helps them. And we launched the first project this year. It was very successful. It was the Accra College of Education, and we are hoping to also try to go into other regions to pilot a project there. Other projects, other campaigns that we also have been involved in has to do with content creation on the web. So we have this Africa Wiki Challenge where we work with communities from different parts of Africa to bridge knowledge gap about Africa. Would you be surprised if I told you that among all the information that we see on English Wikipedia, only 2.5% is about Africa?
Wow.
And he's saying that Africa is the second most largest continent in the world. But yet, our information is just less than 2.5%. Even, would you believe that information about Antarctica, which is uninhabited, is more than Africa, which has human beings on it?
Wow.
People have written more information about Antarctica than Africa. People have written more information about Paris, which is not even a whole country, it's just a city. Information about Paris alone is more than the entire continent of Africa. So we are asking ourselves, what are we doing as Africans? Why don't we seize the opportunity? Wikipedia has given us that opportunity to document our story. And it's not asking you to be a professor to be able to document. It's not asking you to be a researcher. Some publication sites, you have to be a researcher, you have to be there's a whole lot of barriers and criteria. It's saying that you and I can be able to do that. Tell our stories, write about our story, write about our people, showcase our countries to the world, let people know. It can boost our tourism industry. If we are able to, the reason why people want to go to abroad, Canada, US, is because of the information they are getting about the place. They've seen that there's something good there and they want to go there. But when we want to showcase our information to the world, we say that no, why should we showcase? If we showcase, they will not see. People have that kind of, they don't want to come here. No, it's wrong. When you speak to a lot of people like trying to bring innovations, they don't understand why you want to showcase, because they feel like, okay, if you showcase our tourism on the platform, people will not visit because they've watched it already. No, it's going to draw them to give them a reason why they should visit Ghana. If you want to go for a honeymoon, or you want to go for, let's say, a tour, you will look for places where you can visit in the country. If you find this country, you don't find any information about the country where you can visit and see, you will not be inspired to go there. Okay, so that's telling us the power of information, how that drives change, how that drives people, how that informs and sort of like causes people to make positions based on the information that you have. So if we are able to take advantage of this platform and position Africa well on this platform, it's going to really transform us. It's going to really bring a lot of impact into our community. Okay, so it's very important. So Africa Wiki Challenge is that thing where we sort of like, bring Wikimedians across Africa. So usually like more of like experienced Wikimedians to sort of like document articles according to the particular theme of the year. So when we first launched Africa Wiki Challenge, we started with landmarks in Africa, and you'll be amazed the kind of landmarks that was documented because of this Africa Wiki Challenge that we launched. And it brought that diversity of enriched like landmarks. People wrote about their landmarks in different countries. Even we got to hear about some of them for the first time. We didn't even know that they actually were in Africa. So this is the kind of impact that we want to make. Okay, so the second season of Africa Wiki Challenge, we documented about our culture. And we saw rich culture information. We saw even pictures, because we also tried to upload pictures of the various images that depicts the theme. Just like the landmark, we saw various pictures that were coming out because of that. And all that knowledge has been made freely available. So when people go on Google and they are searching, if it's on Wikipedia, they're going to show up. Okay, they're going to show up usually like the top 5 sites that shows up first. They'll show. Okay, so it gives people that accessibility. So that's basically what Africa Wiki Challenge. And usually during the Africa Wiki Challenge, we take the opportunity to build capacity of new editors, because that's where people get to hear about Wikipedia for the first time. They're like, how do you go about this thing? How do you do this? So we have training sessions online training sessions because our community is huge beyond Ghana. It's like the Africa community. So we have online training sessions where they can attend to learn about Wikipedia and also learn how to write on Wikipedia and all that. It's a very, very rich golden skill. So that's just another project that we do. Yeah, basically. We also work with librarians. This year we launched the Wiki Skill for Librarian workshop where we trained selected librarians from the Southern Belt and the Northern Belt. So we work with librarian like institutions that, some educational institutions have this librarian department. So we have selected people who attended this skill because we believe that librarians are also more like gatekeepers of information. So if we are in an information ecosystem, we need more of these librarians to acquire these digital skills, because now we are having digital libraries and all of that. They should know about these digital libraries that we have. How can they also serve their community? How can we also document, these books and all of this, and also how can they make the Wikipedia more better to serve their communities? Okay, so this is also another way that we've done that. So the Wiki Skills for Librarian project is also one of our signature projects, and we have hubs, community hubs in different regions in Ghana. Like the Northern region, we have 2 hubs, the Tamale and the Wale. So they are volunteers. We work with volunteers a lot. So those who want to sort of test their leadership, try to experiment their leadership qualities and want to volunteer, we are very much open and welcoming to give those opportunities to them to sort of lead trainings. And it's sort of in the end, they are sort of building capacity and developing themselves, learning how to manage communities. We train them, we support them to host events in their regions, to make those opportunities also available in underserved communities. Because most of the time we see all of these digital skills in Accra, mostly in the capital. But when you go beyond that, you don't have those kind of opportunities. So in a way to bring more inclusivity and accessibility with opportunities that we offer, we have this localized community hubs where we have one on KNUST campus, where they also do a lot of trainings there, and the Volta region, and also in Accra, of course. Accra is the headquarters. So that's also one other way that we go about the implementation of the program. And we also partner with other organizations. We are partnered with NFA, National Film Authority, to sort of project the stakeholders in the ecosystem on Wikipedia, because they saw the value of it. We had an official partnership where we were also invited to, because taking pictures, I talk about copyright, okay? So we attend some of these events that they invite us to take pictures and put them on Commons. So it's more like a collaboration. We do those kind of collaborations with organizations that see the value in the work that we do. So some organizations, support us with their, they have the name, like UNESCO Ghana have been a very supportive partner for our Africa Wiki Challenge campaigns, our KWIS project campaigns, because they are more into pushing educational agenda. So they really endorse, sort of collaborate with us and support us in kind most of the time.
Yeah.
On this project. So it's been a very wonderful, impactful journey, not without challenges, of course.
Yeah.
There are so many challenges, battles, but we've pulled through a lot of them, and there's a lot of improvement that we can make. In as much as we want to break the African content gap, the gap is still wide up to today. We still have a lot of work to do, especially even with journalists. Okay, because Wikipedia is not a primary source where we start novel research. It's only telling what the world is saying already. from credible information, credible sources. So it's not going to tell you anything new from what the world is saying, but then it's more like a research where bits and pieces from here and there creates that beautiful storytelling that you wouldn't see on maybe on that publication. But then the bits and pieces that we picked from all these sources formed the real story that you didn't see on the web. That's how beautiful it is. That's how beautiful it is.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy, but Ruby, I need to get you on. There's a lot to unpack. We need to sit down for another episode. It's crazy how time has flown. Listen, I'm sure my listeners will be with me on this when I say that you've given me a whole new appreciation of understanding, developmental partners, NGOs, and how they actually do help and contribute in our journey towards ensuring that there's overall access to education and information. My heart is just full with the work that your organization is doing and the hurdles that you and your team are brainstorming to come up with solutions to. It's really, I genuinely do appreciate you hopping on the podcast today. Thank you for sharing your life. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for sharing really invaluable insights. You've really taught me something new today. Your presence here has really enriched our podcast, and undoubtedly, I'm sure many of our listeners have been touched and have been inspired and have had a renewal of mind and change of perspective as a result of your coming on here today. Thank you so much for hopping on today. Definitely I'm coming back to you so we discuss other issues. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Awesome. I truly appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I'm so glad that this was helpful.
Awesome. And to our listeners, I hope you found this conversation. There was knowledge. There was some inspiration in there. There was everything in there, and I'm sure you picked up a thing or two. Let's continue to celebrate and support, exceptional developmental partners and organizations and NGOs such as the Open Foundation West Africa. And hey, if you're looking to be part and wanting to collaborate with this particular organization, the Open Foundation West Africa, and the wonderful and impactful things that you're doing, please feel free to check out their websites. Thank you so much for hopping on this episode. Listen, as we move along, we are really going to get to talk to really interesting individuals and organizations who are really making an impact in the education space. And so thank you for tuning in. Until same time next week, keep learning, keep inspiring, keep making impacts.